You guys know that meme that goes around sometimes of Linus and Lucy in the pumpkin patch, and Linus has a sign, "Welcome, Great Pumpkin." Well, this video should be titled, "Welcome, Great Cold Front." We have a cold front coming through the state as we speak. If you notice here on the real time analysis map, we call RTMAs. This is your current temperatures across the state. On the east half of the state, you see those warmer yellows and orange colors. That's your mid to upper 60s. Behind that, though, we're in the upper 40s and low 50s. So the cold front is swinging across the state, and that will usher in a cooler air mass. But we're not done with the warm temperatures this year. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But overall, we had a pretty decent rainfall yesterday for much of the state. Now, again, south and east areas didn't get much. That was expected. But if you live in northern and western lower Michigan and also the UP, you guys got probably a good inch to 3 inches, depending on where you're at, of rain. So that's really good news. And that should make a dent in our drought progress. Speaking of the drought, we have an update for you guys tomorrow from the drought monitor. But currently, from last Thursday's outlook, we still have a pretty decent drought going on across the state. And once this gets updated tomorrow, about 9 or so a.m., we'll have an update for you guys in terms of how we look. We do expect there to be some changes, especially for that northern severe drought areas in the orange colors. We should see some improvement up there. So cross your fingers. We'll have updates on that. But we have more rain on the way. Speaking of more rain, go ahead and start with the Climate Prediction Center with their forecasted average throughout mid-November. This is valid from the 13th to the 19th of November, issued just yesterday. Michigan still within an above average precipitation contour, as is much of the United States here. That's really good news, as much of the United States is also in a drought condition. Every single state still has a designated abnormally dry condition or worse into a drought condition. So all the rain we can get, we'll take it. As far as temperatures go, we are still looking at above average temperatures throughout that same time frame, November 13th to the 19th. So overall takeaway, warm and wet continues. We talked about the November outlook a few days ago. Now, we did think that the first half of November was going to be warm. The last half was kind of up in the air still, leaning a little bit cooler. That is looking to swing back toward that warmer pattern. Let's go ahead and talk about it here. So starting with the GFS model for today, we have that low pressure system swinging through the region. It's going to bring in cooler temperatures. There's your temperature change by tomorrow, but we're going to warm back right up into the 50s tomorrow. So it's not going to be a huge drastic drop into the 30s. But currently across the state, we're having, again, a split from 60 on the east side to about 45, 50 on the west side. So we're going to have that. We're going to have that brief shot of cold air, but overall, it's going to warm back up. It's going to stay warm. The temperatures here, according to the European model out of Lansing, continue to trend pretty steadily, mid to upper 60s there for Lansing. That's going to be the case for most of us here in Michigan. So temperatures are not going to swing too heavily. Now, going into I get these out of the way so I can stay focused here, organized, should I say. Going back to the GFS model, we are going to highlight the area of next concern for some rain. So this is a precipitation type. Green is rain, blue is snow. Going through today, no showers are in the state currently. Tomorrow, Thursday, should be dry. Friday should be dry. But by the time we get towards Saturday, here's our next rain chance coming up from the south and west. This is Saturday morning. Going into Saturday night, it's going to continue to track toward Michigan. It should arrive in Michigan roughly around the overnight Saturday into early Sunday morning time frame. Now, this is a low pressure system. You see the center of it, the circle right here. That's your low pressure center. It's going to have a warm front across and a cold front back here. So it's going to have a similar setup to this past event, but it's not going to be as windy and it's not going to be as rainy. In fact, rainfall totals with this system for the weekend should be on the lesser side, about a tenth to 3/10 of an inch for Michigan. So not really that much to worry about, especially with the drought conditions. We're not going to see too much of a way of impactful rain. But again, being in the drought, we're going to take everything we can get still across all of the states. So do prepare for rain for the entire state overnight Saturday into Sunday morning. Now, with that being said, our next chance of rain will come mid to late week next week as another low pressure system looks to trek into the area. Now, we see these warmer temperatures stick around. There's our next low pressure system developing over here in Iowa, Wisconsin, Illinois area. This is Wednesday and Thursday of the upcoming week. So what we're noticing here is a trend that all these temperatures are going to draw up from the south. Warm, moist air, definitely a possibility. Upper 60s, low 70s, definitely a possibility as we get toward that mid-November time frame. That is well above average, as average of this time of year is about 50 or so degrees. So we get to 60 and 70, we are well above average, and hence why we have the above average contour out of the CPC climate guidance. So with that being said, though, that's our next chance of rain as well. Now, one thing we have to keep an eye on with these systems, as we talked about a couple times already this season, when we get these low pressure systems that draw moisture from the south, we kind of have to keep an eye on instability totals, because if we can build instability out ahead of a cold front, that could spark some showers and storms. And especially with the wind shear with these systems in the fall time, definitely could lead to some concern for strong storms. But again, highly conditional and depending on instability and stuff like that from the south. The past couple of systems, we've had 2 or 3 systems so far this fall that have had potential. We just couldn't get enough instability to build. So it's something to keep an eye on as we get toward that mid-November timeframe. We have 1 or 2 systems still on the models that we kind of keep an eye on, this one being one of them. But as we continue into that Thursday timeframe closer to the weekend, another low pressure system develops off to the west. And this one looks to be a little bit more so deeper for the end of, or sorry, for the mid to late portion of November. This was also going to draw up warm, moist air from the Gulf, and that could also spark some more 60-degree temperatures for us. So the overall takeaway here is we're going to be trending warmer and wetter, which is just in line with CPC guidance. But with these systems, we'll keep an eye on the instability amounts in the forecast, just because we could still see some gusty showers, especially, but potential for some storms as we get closer to the mid-November timeframe. Definitely, I'm going to say higher than normal chance for some storms. But again, not going to lock anything in. We're still, 10 plus days away. So just we're going to watch it, take it with a grain of salt. And overall takeaway should be warm and wet conditions will be continuing into mid-November. Now, last thing I'll touch on here is the later half of November. We talked about a couple days ago how it might be trending cooler. Well, here's the European anomaly map, which is a average of warm or colder than normal conditions. So obviously the warmer colors, the orange, yellows, reds, that's your warmer temperatures, which we're seeing now in the eastern half of the US. The western half showing colder temperatures, those blues and greens and whites. Now, as we get closer to mid-November, here is November 10th to the 17th. That week is looking to be above average. As you get toward the later part of November, notice how it fades out there. So it's not going to be as warm, but still above average. Now, average, if you remember, is 43 to about 49 degrees across Michigan from north to south. So cooler in the north, a little bit higher in the south. But as we get closer to that December 1st timeframe, we're still seeing temperatures here in the above average contour for the eastern US. So the overall takeaway should be we're going to expect roughly warmer conditions to continue into late November, even though we could have a chance of a little bit of a cool down there. It's not going to be as warm, probably not going to be 70 and 80 again, but we're likely going to have above average temperatures above that 50-degree mark as we get to last week of November for Michigan. So keep that in mind as we move toward that time frame. So overall, November should be warm and wet as expected. And then as we get toward December, we'll keep an eye on that, how it trends. Our first big snowfall, maybe. We'll see. It's still too far out to say for sure, but let's hope for a cool down for winter's sake. We need a good winter here in Michigan for the businesses, but also we haven't had a good winter for quite some time. With that being said, I'll end on one final note. We do have Aurora chances tonight. The SWPC does have a G1 watch. You see it over here for the 7th. Now, 7th is November 7th, and that is going to be starting at 8 p.m. to 7 p.m. tonight, actually. Apologies with time change. 7 p.m. tonight is the switch over on UTC time. That is when the G1 watch goes into effect. Now, the G1 watch does mean that Aurora may be possible from Mount Pleasant and points northward. Here is a map that shows roughly where you can see the Aurora based on storm levels. So you see that G1 KP5 level. Aurora could be seen all the way down into that yellow zone in addition to the green zone above it. Now, if it's stronger than expected, it goes G2, KP6. That's when we have the statewide Aurora. That's not expected tonight, but of course, Aurora is never exact. So we'll keep an eye on things and also post updates on our Facebook page. So feel free to stay tuned to that. We also have the Aurora Patreon if you want just an easy way out. We do offer it for $1 per month. You can go to patreon.com/Michigan Aurora Alerts. We do send these alerts out anytime the Aurora is active, visible in Michigan, primarily south of Mount Pleasant. We don't send alerts out for those of you in the UP because Aurora happens up there quite often. But when we have those bigger type of events where we have Aurora, statewide, or at least good shows for mid-Michigan or north, we're going to send the alert out. So if you're interested, feel free to sign up. I'll drop a link in the description below as well. Make it easier on you guys to find and click. So if you guys want to check it out, feel free to. With that being said, I'll catch you guys tomorrow on our next update video.